and issues around setting up a PMO. So what we're going to cover today is really what is a PMO, setting it up, some challenges, and then an offering that Vibrant Fusion Microsoft has come up with around the PMO strategy itself. As we've been doing projects over the last 10 years and the hundreds of projects that we've done, as a follow-up to customers, we'll come back in at the 60, 90, 120-day mark and see how things are going with the implementation of a project tool set and see what kind of issues that they're having. And resoundingly, the issue that always comes up is user adoption. Seems to be that, you know, everything's great, it's set up great, training was great, but everyone's not using it to the fullest that we had expected when we set out on the project. So we did some more investigation into this, and there's really two main areas that are contributing to this. And the first one is just overall change management. But the second one is really the PMO and the PMO strategy, how it's set up, what were the expectations of setting it up, how is it, being measured and functioning. So in doing that, we realized that customers weren't getting the most out of the tool set that they had implemented. So we've come up with a strategy to come up and take a look at some of the main flaws that we've seen to get the users to start adopting the tool set that you've invested in and getting the full use out of the tools and the PMO. So Wikipedia defines it as really a project management group that focuses in on the standards for project management and strives to have standardized processes for repetition, and hopefully with some metrics in there to measure it. Now, a lot of them that we've worked with, that's kind of one of the key places that's kind of lacking is the metrics. But a PMO should represent a central point of authority for the creation of the project, prioritization, and tracking. And then depending on where your company is on the maturity level, it could include resourcing and financials. But a full upright PMO, fully functioning, clicking in all gears, should be really looking at all of these areas within an organization. So there are 5 common types of PMOs out there. There's variations in the company, the business, how you do it. But the main ones really that are out there are organizational unit, project specific, project support, corporate, and center of excellence. And it really depends on the size of your company, where you're at on the maturity level, where your volume of projects are, what you're looking for to track, what is the best one for your company. Some of them, the organizational unit tends to be one that we see more predominant through the projects that we've done, really focusing on a particular organization and the projects within that organization. And then the other one that we see quite often is the enterprise level, where there's just one program office that's above all of the others. But all of these work well depending on the business needs of your company. So there's not one size fits all, but it really depends on your needs. So some of the challenges that we've seen with customers as they've been trying to define a PMO is, what are these different types that are out there and what's the right one for their organization? What should the functions be of a PMO? If you're just starting out, your functions may be just to have a central place to collect all of the projects, and might be just as simple as that. Or if you're a company that's been around a while and very disciplined in project management, it may be going back through all of the disciplines that we talked about just a minute ago about making sure that we understand the creation, we have a full prioritization process, that we track all of the projects, resourcing could be handled through there, and then the financial piece as well. So depending, again, what your organization, where you're at, what you're looking for, the functions can be different from company to company. And again, there's not a right or wrong way. It's what are the needs of your company. And then who should the PMO report to? Lots of discussions around that within companies. And again, you know, it kind of goes back to what's the right thing for your organization. Again, not a right or wrong way. There's a couple of them out there that seem to be prevalent, but there's really not a right or wrong way of where to report to. But again, it's understanding your business and what the structure should look like. The next important one there that tends to get overlooked is what should we measure. So we've got a PMO defined, we've went out and bought a tool, you know, we're managing it, but what do we measure within our PMO? And even if we measure it, what does success look like? So if we've got it there, what would make it a successful PMO in your company's eyes and within the organization? So those are all some challenges that kind of go into defining a PMO, really talking about your corporation structure, what your vision is, what kind of funding that you've got there, and kind of the accountability level as well that's defined on the organization and you know, how it's the reporting structure. Okay, so questions to consider as we're starting to put together a PMO or as we're revising or relooking at a PMO. Lots of times a PMO is started just to get things organized, and then over time, through continuous improvement, you want to go back and take a look at the PMO. Is it still working for your company? And some things to take a look at. Does your current processes and tools provide your organization with the best choices of projects that you can implement given the time frame, resources, and budget? What processes do you follow today? How do you determine and prioritize? How do you cost and budget? How do you resource projects? Can you gain more value out of your current processes and applications? A lot of times we stand up an application to get you in there running and quickly going, but over time, has your business evolved? Has your maturity level evolved that you need to go back and take a look at the processes in the applications? Do you need to get more from the application? Do you need to define or fine-tune the processes that were implemented at the beginning? How are your projects prioritized and funded? Are you going through the process so when the process is set up, is it being adhered to, or is it the squeaky wheel gets to the top of the list as far as prioritizing and funding a project? Are there back doors within organizations that even though you do have a prioritization process, is there a back door that projects are slipping in and getting done outside of the process? How is your company measuring these? What's the success of those? How are you reporting out on those? Are there constantly one-off projects that do come in the back door and that's all you tend to work on and you don't get to your roadmap and the other projects that have gone through the process and were deemed viable and put on the list but never get to because of there's so many one-off exceptions that are being allowed to kind of break through the process or put holes in the process? Do you have standard workflows that you follow? Are you consistently following them? Do you measure those? So do you know how many times a project gets going without having the funding approved? Where are your deficiencies in your project? So oftentimes getting a PMO up and going is just that, getting it going, but taking a realistic look backwards, what are the things that are working well? And then where are the deficiencies? What are the things that you want to continuously improve? And then how effective is your overall approval process? So during our discussions with customers, as we've gone back and taken a look at their adherence and user adoption to all of these, we determined that a lot of companies don't go back and readdress this and don't go take a look again at the original strategy and what's changed. So Microsoft Vibrant Fusion has come up with a strategy assessment on the PMO to really take a look at the competitive landscape. Have things changed from when we implemented this? Are there ways to reduce risk within the PMO and reduce some costs that are in there? So there may be the PMO may have been set up as one type, and over time it may make sense that you no longer need to be an organizational PMO, but maybe become an enterprise PMO and drive some of the cost out of the business. So again, as you're moving through the transformation path, really coming in and taking a look at that. Is everyone using the same tool set, or does one organization use one project management tool and another one use a different one? Are your standards and your procedures different? Are you measuring the same things? And when you roll them up at a corporate level, are you comparing apples to apples with your data, or is it apples to oranges? So if your PMO is it already established and just needs to be re-looked at, or if you're just starting out, there's some things to look for long-term success. So as we're doing our strategy assessment, there are 5 areas that we concentrate on. The PMO objectives. So are they the same among all of the players there, from the stakeholders to the PMs? Are they consistent? Are they communicated? And does the PMO that's set up, are they set up to encourage success in those objectives? What's the process framework? Do we have the workflows, the handoffs, the approval process in place? And are there metrics defined and a prioritization process in there? And then looking at the PMO structure. And then lastly, looking at the tool sets. A lot of times customers do tool set first and then put the processes in afterwards. Others do processes first and then go and look for a tool that will support those processes. And there's really not a right or wrong answer for the way to do that. I think with all applications, you know, it's kind of the chicken or the egg theory around the tool set. But it's really taking a look once that's done, is the tool configured and supporting the practices and the processes once it's implemented. So the assessment really goes into 3 chunks, if you will. So the foundation is really the objectives, the framework, and the metrics. So it's a 5-step process, but we really group these 3 together. And this is really doing an interview of key stakeholders, and it's really going up the ladder and down the ladder as far as making sure that we've got the grassroots, the PMs, the users of the system, getting their interviews and their understanding of the system, as well as the stakeholders and the champions of the applications and the ones that are kind of defining and making business decisions on the metrics. So making sure that the goals are either understood or established or need to be tweaked, and that they're common against all groups of folks within the organization, and making sure that the mission statement is understood by everyone as far as what is the mission of the PMO. We take a look at the PMO structure and the org alignment. Does it make sense based on how your business is set up? Is it in a natural reporting structure to make sense and achieve maximum output, or are there some things that could be tweaked or changed within the structure itself? Are there objectives set, or do the objectives need to be set or reprioritized? And then are there measures in place to make sure that we are measuring the success and can report on the success of the goals that were set up for the PMO? The next chunk of work is really the governance structure and the workflow, taking a look at the maturity level of the PMO, taking in the industry expertise that we bring from working with other companies implementing projects hundreds of times. We're not only familiar with implementing it and what that works best across the board, but also by different industries. Are there specific industries that need a little bit different benchmarking or flows that make more sense for them? Making sure that there is a governance board above all of this, and making sure that the process is adhered to, and then ensuring that the executive reporting and stakeholder management is working accordingly. And the last piece is really the PMO tools, and we've kind of chunked that differently here. It's really important to make sure that the objectives, framework, and metrics are understood, and then the governance is understood, and then take a look based on those. Are the tools at their optimum? Is the infrastructure set up? Are there workflows that are created within the tool set that allow you to meet your goals and missions? And if they are, that's great. But typically you'll find some things that have changed throughout time, and there's some recommended changes to the application. Now, a lot of companies, when the tool set or the user adoption isn't working, the first thing we tend to do is blame it on the tool. And the tool's bad, we need to go out there and find something else. That may be the case. You may be on an old tool set, you may be on an antiquated one, you may be on one that you haven't taken all of the latest releases, and so there could be issues with the tool set itself, or it could be just the process, but it's really understanding the business needs versus how it's configured. So if the decision is made that a new tool set needs to be done, or you don't have a tool set today and you're ready to take that next step, you're maybe kind of in the infancy of setting up a PMO and you're ready to determine a tool set, taking a look at what that requirements is with the stakeholders and coming up with a requirements matrix. We can take this to the next level and actually help in manage the vendor selection and the interview process if you're just starting out looking at a tool set. If you need help with building a business case around selecting it, we can do all of that around the project. Other areas that come into play here as well is once you've got a project management tool set, does it have the adequate reporting? Do you need other data warehousing, other reporting for your compliance and your regulations? Do we have all of that in there? So it's not only looking at the project tool itself, but the reporting tools that you may need in there as well. So it's really holistically looking at the tools that are supporting a PMO office. So the offering here is really about a 2 to 3 week effort, taking a look at how you're set up, or if you're not set up, coming in and helping you based on our industry practices on getting you set up and making sure that it's running at the optimum, that you're getting your projects in delivered on time, on budget, and whatever other characteristics that are important to your corporation. So the offering that we've got out there is we've done it for several customers at this point, and we've done it for new customers that are just taking a look and just entering into doing a project management office versus a lot of our existing customers that have been in there now and had it operational for 6 months to a year and need to tweak the way that they've used it because they have matured over time. So I'm going to take a break real quick and see what type of questions you might have. Victoria?
Yeah, feel free to submit them to either myself or Anne. We don't have any on the public chat. Anne, do you have any?
Actually, I just got a couple that came in here. So the first one is, what is the best PMO type to have? So that really depends on your organization. So again, there's 5 main different PMO structures that can be set up. If you're just starting out, you may just want to have an organizational one or project-specific one to kind of get the company aware of what a PMO does, how it works, define the processes. And if you're a little bit more sophisticated, you'll probably go more to either an organizational or a corporate level, enterprise-wide project management office. And it really depends on how your company structure is. If you've got, if you're an international company, you may want to be more at a corporate level if you're trying to drive using the same systems and processes. But some international companies treat each country separately, and then that may lend itself to organizational. So again, it's back to what are the main goals of setting it up, and what are you trying to measure and attain with your PMO. And then what is the next question I've got here is, what if we set up the wrong type of PMO? How do we fix it? And I don't think anyone ever sets up the wrong type of PMO. Just like I just said, it tends to be you set up a PMO organization, and a lot of it's you're kind of going blind at the beginning. You're not really sure what exactly is going to work for your company. So you'll set up one that's going to work at the beginning or at least get you going, and then as things change over time, as your company grows, as the number of projects grow, it's probably time to change to one of the other types of PMOs, and then you just come up with a process to convert that. So again, you'll look at the reporting structure, what makes sense if you're going to go to a corporate level. You want to make sure that you have common goals among all of the organizations within that corporate level, that you're measuring all of those and reporting out on those, and that whatever the data is, that it's the same data. So again, you don't want to have data from one organizational unit that's measuring something different than another, because it kind of looks like maybe one unit isn't performing at the same level as the other, but it could just be the data that you're collecting or measuring is different.
Hi, Anne. I have another question here for you. So, Anne, what metrics have you seen that provide value for PMOs?
So for PMOs, the metrics that have been very valuable are measuring, obviously, budget. So that tends to be a big one within companies as far as making sure that it's delivered within budget. And the other one is measuring the prioritization and the completion of those prioritizations. A lot of the IT groups that we work with in there, it's really based on once they prioritize their projects for the quarter to make sure that those prioritized projects get implemented. So those are the main ones, and I'm trying to think if there's any others that we've seen that are real prevalent. The other one is sometimes it's volumes of metrics to get in there, but again, in others it's, if the projects, how many change requests come in, and how those are managed as well. So those are some of the key metrics that we see as far as measurement within a PMO.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Are there any additional questions? Feel free to write them either to myself or to Anne. And yes, participants will be receiving a copy of presentation slides, as well as this webcast is recorded, so the recording will be sent out as well. So Anne, I have another one here for you. So someone wrote that we always seem to have issues around resourcing. Do you have any ideas on how to deal with those?
Absolutely. So a lot of organizations, as they're first starting the PMO, they don't do resourcing within the PMO organization, or they don't put it within the tools, and they handle that outside of that, and that's perfectly normal to start that way. But most of the PMO tools on the market, and obviously Quick PMO and our Portfolio Plus, do handle the resourcing in there. So as you've gotten familiar with the tool set, making sure that you've got the resourcing included in there, and that you load your resources in the tool and manage your projects that way is very effective. But again, it is a kind of an evolution to get yourself there. So to start at the very beginning, if you're just new to a program, practice, and tools, you may not put financials and you may not put resourcing in there to begin with, but adding those in as you feel comfortable with the tool gives you a great leverage to manage the actual outcome and measurements of that. So to make sure that you have control over those resources so that you can meet the budget, you can meet the timelines, and get all of the prioritized projects in there. So again, it's an easy step to start adding in the resources into all of the tools that are out there on the market today, and start using them effectively as your organization grows.
Thank you, Anne. So, Anne, how would you suggest setting up a project support PMO to upper management?
So one of the key areas to set up to them is to really understand the priorities or the importance within the company. So what is the mission or the things that you're trying to get done? And this tends to take a lot of work from both the grassroots, so the PMs and the issues that they're running into, as well as mid-level management on the things when they're not being able to get it put together. So we'd be glad to come in and help set up kind of a structure on getting that done, and kind of working with you to talk about the importance and the things that your company can gain from having a project support group there. It allows control and over finances. It adds control over projects that can get implemented, and the kind of initiatives that are important to your company, whether they be marketing and external facing or internal facing changes to systems and applications that you need to have done. It gives you really the ability to have visibility into those, to have a prioritization process there that the projects that do get worked on, that they do meet the standards within your company, and then that they get measured. So from an executive or an upper level management, getting that that buy-in, once you can kind of present these facts, so we can help you present these facts to them as far as the benefits that they get from the outcome of this, the efficiencies, the process, the financial impact of reducing costs by following processes. It's pretty much an easy win, but it is, setting up a PMO is kind of a difficult conversation. Sometimes they get this is a little bit fluff or things that your company don't need, but we've got a lot of customers out there that can talk about what's happened before they had a PMO versus after they've had a PMO and tools, and the efficiencies and the cost savings they've gained. It's been tremendous. So, it's not a there's not a one-to-one dollar amount on there, but there are a lot of customers out there that are referenceable, that the impacts that they've seen within their business has not only, they've continued on this journey of doing process improvements. So not only did they establish a PMO, but they've actually perfected it and doing continuous improvement on it to continue making sure that they've got the right metrics and to make sure their processes are the most efficient so they can continue to get financial gains.
All right, thank you. Are there any additional questions? Anne, do you have any in your chat function?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just give it an extra minute or two, see if anyone has some additional questions. All right, well, thank you all, and I hope we have helped answer some of your questions and helped define your PMO strategy. Please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter to learn more about the solutions we offer to help drive your business. Again, this webcast will be recorded or was recorded and will be sent out together with a survey about this webcast. We would really appreciate your feedback as it does help drive the products we offer. So again, thank you so much for being a part of this webcast. And on behalf of Anne and myself, I would love to see you at our next webcast. Thank you so much.